Ready? All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to 42 Days Magical Practice. I'm Dustin Neese.
Brian Osborne.
And today is day 17, and we're going to take a deeper dive into the practice of feng shui. We'll talk a little bit more about decluttering and cleaning your space and the value of that, not beyond just it's nicer.
It's better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, again, decluttering, as long as we go into it with the right idea, right? So it's like having that idea first. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? I'm decluttering. Why am I doing it? Because if I associate all of these things with a different aspect of my life, then as I, clean out that representation or clean off that canvas of my life, that aspect of it, and make it clean, I'm basically starting with a blank slate again. So within, relatively speaking, in that aspect. So again, let's just pick a room because it'll be easier. So if we take the living room is going to be, the area of success for you. So where I can relax and I can enjoy my family or my books or whatever it is, watch TV, whatever you do, right? So that you feel like you've accomplished something. At the end of the day, you're doing all right. Then I'm going to clean that out and, really do a good job cleaning. But in my mind, it's like, okay, here's where, this is the representation like we did before of what I have right now. Here's where I want to be. There's there's some distance between those two things, or even slight. There's going to be some difference, right? So I'm going to pull everything out of there and clean it. And for me, I like to just get everything out of that room and just clean that area. Or if it's just an area within the room, clean it completely. Like just pull everything out of there, clean everything off, and then clean the space. And as I'm doing it, I'm already putting in my head, even before I take one step in there to get everything together, even the cleaning supplies together to start, I'm saying, as I do this, I'm sort of clearing my mind of any preconceived ideas or whatever that I have that are already occurring, that are sort of set. Right now it's a habit, it's set in stone, right? So, because I want to be more flexible, I want to be more adventurous, or I want to see some change in my life in this area. So I'm going to start from this clean slate. I don't like the picture that was there before, or it's not quite exactly what I want. So, how many times has anybody tried to draw a picture and then they get to a certain place or write out a poem or write something out and it's like, crush up, and you end up with a wastebasket overflowing of all the drafts, right? So this is just one more draft. And so now I can't crush up my living room. So I'm going to pull all the stuff out of there, right? And clean the slate so I can start over and just say, okay, I have my drawn out idea of what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like to give me that representation. And so I pull everything out, clean everything. Now just cleaning it, a lot of times people will say, wow, just cleaning the place made me feel better. Just cleaning the place made me feel better. It was effort, but I kept in my mind that as I do this, I'm moving things out of the way. I'm coming back to a clean slate.
What do you think that is that makes people feel better when they clean?
I think it's just that. It's what they feel better about is that they're opening up possibilities. With a clean slate, you can draw anything you want.
But what if it's just, all you're getting rid of is what, like dust and...
Yeah, but it's still, it has that energetic influence, right? It's all just energy, whether it's dust or a board in your house, right? Or the floors or the ceilings. It's all just, it has that resonance to it that is flowing. And so dust is a stagnation, right? It's an accumulation of particles that are just settling on things that don't really belong there.
It's like your history.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like...
Or your past experience.
Yeah, nobody likes dust, right? Because it's just stagnant material that's collecting on the things that you have acquired in your life, or the things that if you have pictures in your house, it's like one of the big things for me. It's like dust on the on the picture or the frame or whatever. pain in the butt, because some of these frames, right, are like,
Yeah.
they have little jagged edges or whatever. It's like you're always catching stuff on them. But, you know, you want to keep them clean because you want that representation to flow through. You don't want it dusty. I mean, it's, I mean, we see it represented all the time, right? People,
Yeah.
things that are unused are basically, again, the big enemy is stagnation, right? It's just stuff that's stuck there under layers of dust, right? So it's that same idea. Clean it up. You know, start fresh and, you know, get rid of that stagnation. Even you moving around the space, your energy moving around the space and cleaning it is going to be enough to get the process moving.
In the last video, we talked a little bit about not having preconceived ideas about good and bad and positive and negative and things like that. But I think one of the things that I've taken away from you over the years is just that if there is, you know, one thing that we can say this is a good thing and this is a bad thing, or this is positive and this is negative, is that idea of movement versus stagnation.
Right.
I mean, that seems to be one principle that you really kind of live by, think by, plan by. You know, it's like every type of stagnation, whether it's, you know, physically with health or in your home, in your environment, or patterns of living habits in your daily life. It's like anytime anything starts to get stuck into place, you think of that as having some type of negative effect for you.
I personally do, you know, and I've seen it played out for many other people as well. I mean, again, everything is moving. So if it's sort of like, the best analogy I've ever heard for that, and I'll steal it liberally, is that, you know, sharks have to swim all the time. If they stop swimming, they don't have gills that flex or move on their own independently. They have to have water moving through them all the time. So they have to constantly, they swim all the time. I guess they just found, you know, several years ago, some sharks in like, you know, Gulf of Mexico that have found where seawater is going through certain inlets or something in the ocean bottom of the ocean. They can actually lay there and just have the water forced through their gills, and so they can breathe. But otherwise, basically, they have to swim in order to continue to live. And so that's the idea. That even, I don't know if sharks sleep or not, but I'm guessing that there is something like that, but they're constantly moving. And so, you know, it's either you're moving up or you're moving down, but I guarantee you, if you try to stay in one place for too long, you will eventually move down. You know, everything has to sort of evolve. Everything has to keep moving, keep progressing in one way, shape, or form. So, you know, having that in your mind already facilitates a better attitude.
You think that's one of the reasons why we feel better when we clean, is just literally, you know, dust or no dust, you know, positive energy, negative energy, clutter, no clutter, whatever. It's literally just movement. Things feel better because they've been moved.
Yeah. It's a change up. You know, it's like, again, that friction of movement is creating more energy, and, you know, it gives you more to work with. And you feel, and you can accomplish something. You see something that you've accomplished. It's right there in front of you. It's something that you took a charge of. No matter how bad a job or how good a job you did, I mean, depending on the person, right? I mean, I would do the best that I could possibly do, but anything is better than the way it is right now. So it's like, you know, get in there and do, you know, scour the corners, do whatever, you know, really make it. If somebody put it to you that doing that would actually facilitate a positive change in your life, guaranteed, everybody would do that. If they had that guarantee, people would just do it. They wouldn't even have to be reminded of it, right? They would just, they'd put their all into it. So, I mean, I think that's sort of the attitude you have to have when you go into any of this stuff, that it will make a change, you know, but let's give it, you know, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And if you put in 100%, you're going to get out, you know, something truly amazing. So, but you have to do it. You have to sort of transfer through. But again, you know, it's my thing. I've always said, you know, it takes a lot of courage to do that, because it's not, that it takes a lot of courage to try something and not have it come to fruition, but not getting the end result that you want. But it's really the courage to, wager your disappointment in that. If I put my all into this and nothing happens, it's not only that, nothing happened, but I'm going to be extremely disappointed since I put all of my efforts into this. So what does that say? Either the system sucks, it doesn't work, or something I did wasn't right, or however it is, you've got to go back to the drawing board and sort of figure that out. But, for people that have really done that 100%, I haven't really seen that to be the case. But again, it takes courage to sort of, nobody wants to be disappointed in anything. So, and it's not a minor disappointment, right? If you've really put your efforts in for 30 or 40 days, you want to see some results. And if it doesn't happen, you have to reevaluate, and that's disappointing. And finding out, what was it? What can I figure out what it was and adjust it so that I can actually, move forward. What can I do to move my life forward? Again, it's about control, control over yourself, and your life. So, you have to have courage to be able to put yourself up there, put yourself in that place and do it, and be responsible for the end result. So I think, again, the cleaning is the first step in this, and starting with a blank slate, and know that from a blank slate I can draw anything I want. And then I'm going to basically look at the things. I've got my diagrams, right? I can remember, even without a diagram, I can remember what my room looked like before, right? So, and what I have to work with. And maybe it means, pulling some things from other rooms or doing whatever, but I'm not going out to get a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to use what I have available. And then looking at it and saying, okay, what is my clearest idea? With all the things that are here, what could I minimalistically, represent as my end result? What would that be for me? Would it be a single coin in the middle of a table, or how, what would be the again, the minimalist idea? If I just had this room with a space in there and somebody walked in and just saw this one thing, they would have an immediate idea of, oh, that's success, or that's wealth, or whatever it is. Like, here's a single table in an empty room with one object on it. What would that object represent for them? That's sort of, and it doesn't have to do that for every person. Like every person that walks in the room would have that same idea, but for you, it's important. What is that? What would that one thing on the table, if somebody said, I'm going to, you get to put one thing in there that represents that success in your life, what would it be? Here's the things you have to work with. It's Apollo 13 time. Here's the crunch time. You get half an hour to look at all this stuff and choose, and whatever that represents to you in the most, well-rounded way is going to be what you get. What would it be? And of course, you don't have just one thing. So, but, make that a rule to begin with. It's like, I'm just going to, if I had a table in there, which most people have a table somewhere, and they put it in there, it was just a blank room. What thing that you have in your immediate environment would you put on there to represent the success in that area that you're looking for? And then build it out from there, right? But start from a single thing. Don't think of it as a, how am I going to coordinate all these things together? I'm not an interior decorator. What if it doesn't look good? What if it's not the right thing in the right place? Again, all of that analysis part can stagnate you as well. Fear of putting something in the wrong place that's going to have this negative effect. Look, it's just an end result. Don't make it positive or negative. You have the end result that you're looking to get, but it's like a recipe, right? It's like cooking, right? A little bit too much of this time, it's too salty that time, it's too much pepper this time. I'm adjusting things on the fly, and with repetition, working on it, coming up with what tastes perfect to me. That's the same idea, but I start with my basic ingredient. You know, I don't think of the spices if I'm making chicken soup. I'm starting with the chicken. The same combination of spices could be used in other recipes, right? How do I know what my end result is a chicken soup, right? I start with the chicken. So what's going to be your chicken in the middle of the room to represent what you want, right? It's a great visual, isn't it?
That's the craziest sentence you've ever said. What's going to be your chicken in the middle of the room?
What's the chicken in the middle of the room as opposed to the elephant in the room, right? So it's the same idea. What is it going to be represented? And then what are you going to fill in around it just to sort of flesh it out a little bit more?
Right.
It's a much easier way to do it, and you don't need an extensive knowledge of feng shui to make this work. It's the principle, it's the idea. If you can get that part of it, you can make this work.
And what is that principle?
Again, everything sort of reflects back to you, or makes an impression on your subconscious of keeping your that energetic flux, keeping you in the state that you want to be in the end result. In that room, you've already achieved it. So how do I position with what I have here? What do I position in the room in the right place to make me feel that way? What makes me smile every time I turn to a different area of the room? And it's like, use common sense in that way. What makes me feel successful in that place? When I have that feeling, so that emotion somatized in the body, I'm in the zone. And so, and I engage it in that way, and that feedback loop is connected. And then I'm being hyper vigilant when I go out in the world and seeing, how it represents itself to me there as well, right? And whatever I do in my home otherwise, you might find that becomes your favorite room in the house. You spend more and more time in there. That's another good indicator that it's, that you've changed it in a positive way. You're feeling more and more comfortable. You feel more boosted up there. You feel like you have more energy there. Your attention is better, and you can hang on to it longer. All of those things are great indicators that you've really, you're in the zone in that place. You're in the flow in that place. That's the whole, we want to be in the flow everywhere, within our home structure, especially if we want to be in the flow outside. In other environments than we want to be in, we want to know what that feels like within our own. So, yeah. So that's what I would say about that. And again, that, how to tie it together with not just cleaning and decluttering, but what is the indicator? It's the feelings, right? So the emotions that are somatized in the body. So when I do that, it's definitely going to be, when I put those things in the room, how does that make me feel? That's the bottom line. How does that make me feel? Because if it's not right, don't worry, you can change it, right? Nobody's said, okay, that's permanent now. It's not. You can change it. So, maybe it feels great today, but you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, you see that first thing, and it kind of gives you that little twist in the guts, and it's like, no, that's not the right place for that. I'm going to put that over here. I'm going to take it out of the picture completely. I'm going to put, this is a much better idea. Now that I've slept on it, I'm going to change that up. Awesome. Do that. And then the next day when you get up, it's like, oh yeah, that feels good. I'm in there and I've adjusted things slightly, and then I let it cook. Let it cook. See how it's going, and give it a fair shot. And get in there and go with it and see how you feel on a regular basis. Utilize the space. But how does the space make you feel? And that'll be a good indicator of how it's working for you, how it's impacting you. And then can I carry that into my exterior environment when I go outside my home, right? So as well as you entrain to it here, can I carry that resonance out?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like people that have like kids or spouses that may have like different opinions about where things should be or how things should be set up, or people that live in situations where there are aspects of their environment where they physically can't change them or whatever. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about that? As a broad
I think
topic.
Yeah. It's broad, but let's see. I think the best thing to do, again, with any practitioner or any person trying to, make this part of their spiritual practice, or whatever you want, energetic practice, if they're attached to someone else, if they're, in a relationship or they have family or whatever, that you can't keep it separate from them. It's too much work. It's too much anxiety involved. It's too much, potential for conflict. It's like they either have to be involved in it or not. It's like, so, I mean, it means, some tough choices there too, maybe, perhaps, I don't know. At least, with your spouse or significant other or whatever, right, you're gonna, engage them in, the idea. It's like, I really want to try this. This is really going to be good for us. It's going to be good for me and, good for everyone in the family. If I'm good, everybody's going to be good. So it's, and you have to pitch it in a way, not to sell them on it, but just to give them the, it's an experiment in the beginning. It's like, can I make this work? I really want to try this. It's not going to cost us anything. It's not going to do this or that. It's just something that I want to try to see if it has a positive effect that I think it's going to have. And just really engage them in that level. If you know the information well enough, you're going to be able to put it to somebody who you're close to in a way that they're going to understand. And, make your decisions based on that. If it's like an apartment where, you're not supposed to put pictures on the walls or put anything in certain places or whatever it is, that's sort of what you're talking about with the environment, right?
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you work around what you have. I mean, you're still living in that place. Mm-hmm. So either the decision is to find another place, that's a big deal, or, how can I make this space the best possible until I can find a better place, or until I can find a better space, if that's the cause, or if that's the case. So, there's always something that you can do with something. It doesn't have to be a palace, right? I mean, plenty of people don't live in a palace, so it's you work with what you have, but you can still enhance it in the way that's going to work for you. So, yeah, I don't think that there are so many restrictions in that territory that would make it impossible for me to work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, especially I know people with kids too, and it's like, good luck keeping the house clean or a space like perfectly pristine or whatever.
Oh yeah, perfectly
organized.
And again, I mean, it's like, perfectly pristine. What does it mean? It's not a museum. It's a place where people live. That's, I mean, we have to clean every day, and when the kids are back here or whatever, it's like practically every few hours, because it's like between the food that's being processed and cleaning up and doing this, and just the things that go around now with grandkids too, right? It's like even more stuff hanging around. It's not like you put plastic over your couches and chairs, and that's just another form of insanity, right? So it's like you still need your home to be a home. That it's just you keep it as neat as possible, and know that those things are also sort of energy that's moving through there. I mean, there's nothing like children's energy, right? It's like boundless and free. So it's just they're like untapped well of just erratic, sort of overflowing emotion and energy. They just run and then they just drop completely out, and then they get up and run again. And so
I think it's just basically like when you're rearranging your space or cleaning or whatever, bringing new things in, it's not that you're trying to control and manufacture the flow of everything that goes on in that space. No. It's like you're just restructuring things for the natural flow
to go around,
to move,
to interact
within.
With it. Right.
Yeah, but then let life happen.
Yeah, and you arrange as you need to, or rearrange as you need to, right? So it's all about, it's not about a stagnant set thing. It's
This
about
thing
the
stays
flow.
here,
right?
and it's gotta be
It's
perfect.
it's flexibility. It's flexibility and the ability to sort of move into any situation and maneuver around that. Or maneuver within it, right? So it's not like you want to be like changing the forks and the knives on the places,
right?
Because it's like a little bit out of tilt. I mean, that's just
right.
You're gonna get a little crazy with that stuff.
Sure.
It's like, who moved the picture?
Yeah.
It's like, you're done.
Who touched my gold coin?
That's right. Who touched mine? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, you don't want to make it so fixed that any little thing is just gonna throw it off kilter, right? So it's like a constant. It's a flexibility. It's a flow.
I just think at the same time that when this is all spiritual stuff. I mean, we're looking at changing our lives through the lens of spirituality,
right?
And so whenever it comes to that sort of stuff, I think everybody, myself included, can get into that place where it's serious.
Right.
And if it's important and I'm putting energy on it and attention on it and it's spiritual in nature, it's like,
I know. It's ridiculous.
So it's tough. I think
it's true. And I think it's one of those things that holds, it's held this practice where it has been for so long.
What practice?
And it's the practice of, either magical practice or energetic practice, whatever, shamanism, all of that stuff. It's kind of, it's tried to hold it in this place where people who have practiced it for the longest time have, sort of, it's outdated in the way that it's practiced. And just, we have so much information and other ideas about the way this stuff works. We're not using an antiquated model to sort of,
you mean we're not using an antiquated model
we're
right
not
now.
using an antiquated model now. We're using an evolved model. We have more information than we know. They called energy something else, the ethers, or they called it this, or they called it that, right? Chi, all of that. It's all fine, whatever you want to use. But I'm just saying, the idea of sacrilege is an outmoded idea. Because if it's all the one thing, how could anything be sacrilege? So to put that much, formal, sort of fixed idea on something, and that by moving that or touching it or whatever is going to throw the universe out of kilter. I mean, it's because it's not being touched in the right way or by the right person or whatever. I mean, that's another one of those insanities, that's just sort of taken out. It's a perversion of the idea. So, I mean, we're trying to eradicate those things. Yes, we take it seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. I mean, Jesus, we're doing a 42-day lessons, 42 lessons, on, a basic overview of magical practice that can change an aspect of somebody's life. That's not very, I mean, it's serious in its outset that we were trying to do that to help a bunch of people that we don't know and help them in a way that we think it will help them. But we're not, I mean, obviously we're not in formal attire, robes, whatever the accoutrement of the day is for whatever system it is. It's like, no, we're not sitting here in ponchos and have a bunch of stones on the ground or whatever. We're not, drumming around a fire or, it's like, no, we're just giving the information out there so that they can see, look, this is just one way of doing this. And if you can get the principle behind it, if you can get the idea behind it and put it into practice in what way you feel is right. What I don't want it to be is one more nail in the coffin of what, now I'm so fearful of doing something wrong that I don't do anything. Mm-hmm. That's just going to leave you in this slow decay of a life that you have right now.
And I really think that nothing holds that kind of energy more than spirituality or ritual. than that kind of, I don't want to do something wrong.
Right.
I need to understand this thing like so perfectly, or I need to know the formulaic step-by-step thing and say the right words in the right order and all that kind of stuff to get, or, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, and
use the right symbol.
Right. I mean, again, because most people don't really understand the mechanism behind it. I mean, we can't really...
The mechanism behind
how it translates, how it works. And so it becomes, you know, because it's sort of this, you know, unknowable thing, you know, it's scary. So it's not like if I take the hammer and I hit the nail, I'm going to drive the nail into the board. There's a mechanism there that we understand. Force and power, you know, put directly on the head of the nail is going to drive it into this board. If I slip or I miss and I smash my finger, there's still a representable, you know, result there. So, but we see the mechanism behind it. Nobody smashes their finger and goes, oh my God, where did that come from? It must be because I was holding the hammer wrong. Or, you know, I did this way back then and now this is the result. I mean, that's an old model, right? I mean, bad things happen to you because you did something really bad before.
Right.
You know, it's not that, you know, we don't have that understanding anymore, you know, about those things. So, but it's, again, I think for me, it's the biggest thing is for people to relax. You know, I think more people will get benefit out of this if they just look at it as an, you know, I don't want to say an adventure, but it is sort of an adventure. You know, it's like, if your spirituality isn't working for you, or whatever you were raised in isn't working for you, then here is a viable option that you can adapt to your life and literally see, you know, the end results. I mean, because for some organized religion or whatever, the end results are only acquired at the end. When you die, you find out if you did it right or wrong. I mean, for me, that's not something that's a viable option. You know, I'll gauge it by what's happening right now. You know, if I'm doing okay, I'm doing well. You know, if it's not, I get my feedback that says it's not, and I adjust myself to the situation. That's all. And that has been the most consistent thing for me. And I see the most consistent results that way. So, and I think other people, if it's kind of brought to them in that way that's not so overwhelming, you know, then they'll get the benefits from it too. And they can start making this model work for them, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, so would it be kind of, if you want to put something into practice, just clean and declutter, it's as simple as that. But hold it in your mind that that's what you're doing. You're cleaning the slate
to opening up the space. That's right. And cleaning the slate to produce a new picture of what you want. And that, you know, your final, if I am gauging how well it's done, yes, it is with the end results, but the results that you get may take a little time to sort of, you know, coagulate in your environment. So what you want to do is just, you know, notice it, be in that space and see, does it make me feel better or not from what it was before? Do I feel like I'm just drawn to be in there now? I want to spend time in there. That's already a positive. You know, does everything that I see in there just make me feel good? That's another positive. You know, take it at the base level of what you're looking for. All of those things will build up over time, and you'll feel better for longer periods of time, and you will bring that into, you know, or wherever you go, and that can have no other benefit, you know, can have no other result than causing your environment, outside environment, to be better. Interactions with people, whatever, work, all of that. So, yeah, that's what I would do. Start with that.
Cool. Awesome. All right.
That's it.
Thanks. All right. Enjoy and, you know, take it easy.
Take it easy. That's right.
Yeah.
Do it. Just do it and see what the end results are.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.